Welcome! Back when I first started posting YouTube videos, I sent an email and asked Jess from Roots and Refuge if she would want to do a collaboration with me. I don't even remember what it was for. And of course I never heard back from her. I'm not even sure I had 100 subscribers at the time. And had no idea of how much correspondence people get. But that kind of made my ears perk up when she had a collaboration invite in the title of a video this week. And that video went up in response to a video she posted last week. So in case you are unaware, Jess is Roots and Refuge Farm here on YouTube. I will put her link down in the description box below. The post that she made last week was it was about how, to some degree, we are losing solid footing in terms of our resources. We don't always know when a book is written by AI as compared to a person that had an actual editor and this kind of thing. So her point in the video was that we need to be very vigilant. We need to be very vigilant in regards to what resources we are using, because something like mushroom foraging can be a life or death situation if you eat the wrong thing. And so it's not really necessarily a good idea to just take something that a computer pulled off of some random incorrect website and take that as truth. And she did mention a couple of things you can do to sort of gauge if it was an actual person versus a computer that wrote a book. So, as a for instance, on the back of this book, it has a picture, it has a little bit of a bio about the author. So even though this type of a thing would be prime candidate for an AI written book, it's not. And same with this one. There's a picture of the author, there's a blurb about her, and some of this you can weed out by finding resources through friends. And the whole point of this collab is to help people have a way to find good information that has sort of been vetted and people are using, and it's not an untested recipe or something that might unfortunately make you sick. I am jumping on this chance to get to work with her in this way, and I pulled a few reference books off of my shelves. Now, these are the reference books that I use regularly. I have a few other reference books that I don't use as regularly, but these are ones that, you know, the other day when I got a call from a friend, these are where I go to look things up, or that sort of thing. And I do that because I've used them for years. Now, that said, the first one probably fits the whole homesteading idea the most. Please be aware that I live in a trailer park. I am limited on how much homesteading I can do, so I don't have livestock and that sort of thing. I garden. I do have some bigger things like fruit trees, and I am more natural in my healthcare. So that is kind of the way I am going with this. So please just understand that. If this is not the type of thing that suits you. Anyway, the first one, The Backyard Orchardist. This book was recommended by the mom of a friend of mine who I believe had grown up around orchards, like her parents had orchards and stuff. And I don't know that she had kept it up like in her middle years, but then as she retired, she has actually helped her children start orchards of their own, and she has an orchard where she was living when I met her. I was very glad to get to meet her, and she recommended this. It has pictures, but they aren't like photo pictures. They're like drawing pictures. So just be aware that it has good explanations that are incredibly easy to actually envision what they're talking about, and they do back up places with pictures. It has a wide variety of types of trees, as well as things you need to think about in choosing which trees you're going to start, and in order to be able to get fruit. So like if a tree needs a different breed of tree to pollinate, the one I'm thinking of, there is like a little bingo sheet on the pear trees that gives you which breeds will breed, maybe species, I don't know, anyway, like which ones will pollinate which ones, and some of that's like a blooming time factor, some of it's, you know, anyway. So it has all of that basic information to get you started, as well as information about dealing with disease and pruning. But you will probably, as you're dealing with disease issues at some point, I never thought I would, and turns out I have over the years, you'll probably want more pictures in terms of that, give you a place to start. So that is this one. I will be linking all of these from Amazon. The ones that I can't find the exact books I have, I will link the newer versions, because some of these are definitely, they've been revised. Like this one. So the next two work very well hand in hand. Prescription for herbal healing and prescription for nutritional healing. I can't find an edition number on this, although I do know that the last time I looked it up, there were other editions of it. They're well written and they're well organized. So it's not a lot of pictures. You'll find headers, an explanation, things that might help with it, and then things to think about and recommendations that might be specific to a certain brand of supplement, but it might be a generic to a certain herbal variety. And it will have some things in terms of like dosages and whatnot. Now, it has things listed by condition. It also has things listed by herb, so you can look it up either direction. It also has extensive sources listed in the appendix at the back. And when I'm having issues, so like I said, part of my sort of homesteading mentality is being more natural medically. Part of that is because the chronic conditions that I have don't allow for me to take pharmaceutical medications. I react to them. And before you, please don't leave me comments about side effects and how everybody gets side effects. I'm talking even the shortest term of medications. I will be flu-like sick and breaking out in boils within 2 to 3 days. I've just learned to deal with things outside of that realm. So, anyway, herbs and supplements are my friend. And I needed a way to reference things and make sure I was doing things safely. Prescription for nutritional healing, obviously, herbs, nutrition. This is going to be more like vitamins, minerals, and that sort of thing. The format is largely the same. They do have notes about how different, I guess, doctors use different things. They do mention herbs in this book. I don't know. If you had to pick one or the other, I would probably pick nutritional healing. And I may have not said that 5 or 10 years ago, but my reasoning is sometimes we can get in the mindset with herbs that a lot of the standard medical system is in, where we're treating symptoms instead of fixing the root causes. And a lot of the root causes tend to be more nutritional in nature. And since it has some herbs in it, you can kind of bridge the gap that way. So in terms of the homesteading thing, these are excellent reference books to get you going. I do typically go ahead and follow those up with videos and peer-reviewed articles, if I can get my hands on them, that help me get a good picture of how things work together. When I'm thinking about a nutrient or something like that, ultimately, what I would really like is to understand, this is what I'm looking at taking, and this is the systems it affects, and this is where it falls into those systems. That was what I would like. It's very hard to put all of that together, and there have been some Hail Marys where it's like, okay, what I'm looking up is, will it kill me? And, you know, it's one of those things, these are a good starting place and can give you a good basic understanding, but you might want some follow-up of a more specific nature. Now, I have mentioned the whole herbals thing. This one, it is specifically herbal, but it tells you how... Number one, it lists side effects. Not all books list side effects. Sometimes they are missing in these bigger ones. I don't know if that's just because they didn't know about them at the time. But it also lists alternatives. In case you are sensitive to one thing, it will list alternatives to that. Then it has... Let's see if I can get this to focus for you guys. So, like, it will list what the item is, the Latin name, it'll break down that stuff. And then it will tell you what the actions are it does and what it works against. And one thing I've noticed lately is that some people are using things that would actually be antibiotics or antivirals or that kind of thing, just because they like the smell or they like this or that. So they're adding them to stuff that they just want the smell in, maybe shampoo or lotions or that sort of thing, or putting it in a diffuser or a candle even. And that stuff, unfortunately, the stuff that is having trouble responding to conventional medicine, a lot of times it's because of overuse of the conventional medicine, and they've been able to evolve around it. And I would just, something like this would help, if you like something like that. It helps you maybe know that, oh, maybe I don't want to use this in absolutely everything because I might wind up needing it when I get sick. Just a thought. There's a lot of good information. It's a much quicker reference than, and I guess lighter weight. It's easier to read than the bigger books. Now, I also want to include this last book, and I need you guys to hear my heart on this because it's going to strike a lot of you as very odd. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction to my medical issues because I think it helps make this make sense, okay? So I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is a genetic, I guess, mutation, you could say, that causes my tendons and ligaments to be too lax, therefore causing hyperflexibility. And we have connective tissues in everything from our bones to our blood vessels to our skin. It affects a lot of things, and in a lot of ways, the medical community doesn't even understand how it affects things or in what ways yet. There are multiple types. I am the hyperflexible type. It is the only type that has not been linked to a particular gene at this point, as far as I know. And a lot of it is just sort of learning to live in a way that you don't aggravate it. We're prone to dislocations, especially. And so that is what really this book is helpful for. Now, it is an atlas of anatomy for artists. I got this because when I was in school, I very much was a portrait artist. The way I use this book is when something happens, the first thing I need to know is if it's a muscular thing or if it's a bone thing, okay? Because my tendons and ligaments are too stretchy, it lets bones move too much at times. That's why we're prone to dislocations. So the problem with that is it might be a bone issue. It might be something moved and there's a muscle pinching issue. So as a for instance, last summer, one of my young ones was running to get to the truck when she was at her dad's house, and she was racing one of her siblings because she wanted to sit in the front seat. You know, sounds pretty normal, right? Yeah, well, she wound up tripping in a pothole and dislocated her heel. Now, you're probably going, you can dislocate your heel? That's what I said. This is the book I came to. It has all of the little bones you can see in various pictures. It has how those bones interact. It might not be on the next page. It's laid out for an artist, not for a medical diagnosis. But it also has musculature, so you know where the muscles that affect different bones are and how they connect. And that's important for an artist. I just showed you pictures that are pretty well straight on, but it also has pictures like this where it shows what positions bones and muscles are in as people are moving. And especially when you're trying to figure out how to either put something back in place that you've gotten in the wrong spot, or figure out, hey, do blood vessels go through this little piece of channel in between these two bones that like sit like this? This book is very helpful, especially when something happens after office hours and you can't get to the chiropractor, or as most of us find out, our normal doctors just don't know. So you can wind up being in a lot of pain for a long time if you're waiting to get referred to an orthopedic and get MRIs and get this and get that, for them to tell you, oh yeah, it's just out a little bit, and just like, let's yank on it. And fair warning, don't just go yanking on your body parts. I highly recommend going to a chiropractor that knows what they're doing if you don't. So these are my major reference books that I go to on a very regular basis, whether it's for me or for friends and family. These are the ones that I actually look up a lot. I have others on square foot gardening and things like that, and a lot of times I don't use them. Like, they are good reference information, but I can get the reference information just as easily from, you know, a YouTube video like from Jess, you know? So thank you, Jess, for the opportunity to work with you. And I hope that if you're watching this, you found some bit of information that will be useful to you, even if it's not necessarily all traditional homesteading topics from me. Thank you. Have a great night or day.